Hello everyone, so we have a new banner to review. I'm sorry for the delay. My summons were so terrible I just did not feel like doing any fucking content for a while. Ironically enough, it was Rival Bromains which kind of cheered me up after that. But speaking of Rival Bromains, I wanted to extend my thanks to Chaz for having me on there. So, also, before we start, since we will most likely have a few new folks, I would like to point out one thing before we start, and that's we have a Show Me Your Build going. The deadline is first of November. So if you want to join in, just join the Discord and obviously read the pin to know the guidelines for the build. I do go in depth a lot about builds, so if you need help or if you want to show off, go ahead. Anyway, this is about the Brave Redux banner. We have 3 unit and a GHB. I will be covering all 4 of them. So let's start. So here we have Loki with fuck, for lack of a better name. Her staff is basically gravity deploy, but only for ranged unit, which is kind of atrocious, honestly. She does have the right type of HP for this kind of thing, since most ranged units do not have that much HP. But in Arena, this is extremely gimmicky because it relies on 2 things. 1, you having more HP than enemies, which are most likely going to be merged to shit. And 2, it needs to be a range unit, and the higher you go in Arena, the less range unit you'll be seeing. So fuck is not that great. And on top of that, it has an HP threshold, which, yikes. It's, the HP threshold being basically 39 unless you buff your HP, which you most likely will because of colorless dual infantry 3, which means 47 health, which means you only hit 44 HP and less mage unit, which can be a problem because a lot of armored mage tend to have a bit more than that, so you can't even counteract armor march for a unit like Henry, Lynn. Actually, no, Lynn I think you'll be well more than enough, but Henry I'm not too sure. Jacob is a lost cause. If you are not highly merged, you are fucked on that regard. It might be good though with the bonus, with bonus arena, with arena bonus, because you'll have an extra 10 HP. But even then, it's reliant on your enemy having range units, because otherwise it's a dead fucking weapon effect. The only effect you'll have is Raffle Staff. In which case, if you're going to invest in a Loki, which by the way, before we start talking about, colorless dual infantry is really good, but Loki is still the best scoring healer of the entire game right now. Why? Because she has a pref weapon. The only other healer with a pref weapon is on a horse and can't really abuse this effect, because this is only for infantry. So do keep that in mind, because, and also she comes with the best special cost, because in case you don't know, Double Bomb Plus is 300 SP, every other skill possible for a healer is 200. Or even less. Base bomb skills are 150, for example. Which is shit. It really is. A pref weapon means they can score a whole SP bin over the other units, so do keep that in mind. So yeah, as for Loki herself, her stats line is not too bad. The fact that she has so much health and the fact that you'll most likely be running her haste slot means that she's going to be sitting at 63 bulk. 63 bulk is more than enough. And also, if you're going to use her outside arena, well, you don't have a whole lot of option. You can keep the HP plus 5 from dual infantry if you're lazy, which honestly most people are. But double brazen is also a good choice. That said, it's kind of hard to get into, just keep that in mind. Now, obviously, there's the Razzle Dazzle Pain Plus combo, which is probably really good on her, considering she has the best stat line offensively of any staff unit of this game so far, by quite a fair margin. Speed not so much, attack definitely though. Her bulk is not as good though, because she has a bit too much points into res, but if you take that off, it's not bad at all. As for Auto Attack Wave, this is the third time we see this skill. I don't really have to talk about it. Earth Water Balm is literally the opposite of what Veronica got, which is kind of ironic in a way, because Earth Water, for the character that's been in Earth Fire zone, is kind of odd, but oh well. So yeah, 33 attack, 35 speed, pretty good. And the only unit I have yet to get from this banner in 700 orbs. Let that sink in. Well, let's talk comparison. See, this is why I said that she is just really good offensively. The best offensive unit you could compare her to was Lyn. Now, Lyn has better bulk overall, 100%. But when it comes down to offense, Loki is clearly superior. And if you run Razzle Dazzle anyway, your bulk is not really that important. So yeah, she just has basically 1 more speed and 5 more attacks straight up. It's just an upgrade. The problem though is Razzle Dazzle is a bit expensive to get, and well, Raffle / Dazzling Staff is far from easy to get, so yikes. Still, it does make her a bit better in a lot of ways. The only unit that I would say is comparable to her right now in terms of utility when it comes down to healers is Veronica. Okay, sorry. So yeah, Veronica. Veronica is a juggernaut. There's really not much I could say other than this. Brave Veronica has Peshkaz with Dazzling Staff built in, which makes her just absolutely disgusting to deal with. Especially if she has Restore in Arena, it becomes extremely cancerous to get her off of her party members. And yeah, that's just it. Dazzling Staff is just better of a refine than Raffle Staff, especially with that kind of bulk. I'm sorry, that's just kind of how it runs, but yeah. So because she doesn't come with Dazzling Staff, it kind of makes her staff not great. Not awful, but not great. Veronica just kind of comes in with Dazzling and Raffle at the same time, which are both fantastic to begin with, and a better staff, and a... no, I wouldn't say better stat line. Stat line wise, Loki is a bit better, actually. But that's because she's infantry and Veronica is cav, so there's a difference of about 6 BSD, so, you know, 6-7 actually. So yeah, Veronica is like the only healer better than Loki right now, in my opinion. Now let's move on to Owain, and I have much more to say here. First off, let's kill a misconception here. Blue Flame does not do true damage. That's the first thing I verified when I got to play. I made my Hector on my alt tank a Owain twice until he finally procced it, and it did 3 damage. So damage of Blue Flame is completely untrue. So, which means it's kind of not as great as it could have been, but honestly, thank fuck, because it's fucking inheritable! For fuck's sake! Oh, Blue Flame, why? So, you have a skill that is clearly meant to be unique to Owain, that's inheritable for whatever reason. Great start. So, before we talk about the character, I'm going to talk about Blue Flame. And Blue Flame is... I love how a lot of people are very divided about that skill. Some people think it's utterly broken, some others think that it's just completely useless because not many units can use it. And I'm somewhere in the middle, because I feel like it's really strong, but only on a select few units who doesn't need an extra fucking buff. What what makes Blue Flame so good is it fits on an armored unit. It fits their playstyle of just turtling around each other. It's 25 free damage twice if you have a slaying weapon, and on top of it special fighter, and you get hit twice. For example, Brave Hector is a great example of this. He has QR and cooldown -1 in his weapon. Put special fighter on him. Go speed minus, so he always gets double. Gets hit, 25 extra damage. Gets hit again, 25 extra damage again. Yeah, that's fun! I'm so glad that the reason this skill is so broken is both fighter and special fighter. Why? Why do fucking armored unit get so many more toys, but nothing for infantry? Well, whenever infantry gets something, armored units gets it too, outside of like 3 skills that are very, very niche. And you know, fucking IS, right? Now, as you have heard, I said special fighter and bolt fighter. Bolt fighter is a fucking cancerous skill, but it was held in check a lot outside of obviously Zelgius because he had a 3 cooldown special to begin with. The reason why is quite simple. You had only 2 choice for 500 SP skills. You had Aether, Gale Force. Gale Force did not improve your damage whatsoever, so if you were dealing with Combat Triangle, all you had to do was turtling around the unit that could deal with the unit and just watch it as it kills itself. Simple enough. And then you had Aether, which, okay, that one can be bad, but it takes a full round of combat to charge. Now it's 3 cooldown. So, yeah, 3 cooldown. And fucking tastic. This means you attack, 2 charge, get attack, 1 charge, and boom, you proc it. Now, a lot of people will be hurrying and say, well, that doesn't matter too much, does it? Because while it's true, Bolt Fighter, you can just bait the unit away from the other units, which means it only does an extra 10 damage. There is so many units that could barely get a kill in because there was no specials involved. But the fact that there was a special completely fucked them up if they had to deal with it, right? And now they always have to deal with a special. If you're going to try to be on the offensive, you can't anymore. You have to be on the defensive almost all the time, because if it's special fighter or if it's steady breath with a DC weapon, I'm sorry, you're just going to run into killing yourself, or a slaying and well, obviously slaying and special fighter is another choice, or slaying and steady breath is another option. There's so many ways to fuck you over with this fucking inclusion of one skill. Because if you're attacking, there's probably someone adjacent to the unit, and that's 25 extra damage. 25 extra damage is more than enough to fuck you over. That's a big problem. That's a huge problem. And the big problem about this is, well, armored units are the biggest benefactor of this skill. It also makes higher tier in arena absolutely cancerous, because unlike Aether and Gale Force, Blue Flame is really hard to play around. And a lot of armored unit, like I said, would normally fail to get the kill, but the extra 10 damage just pushed them that extra bit higher. Grima is a great example of this. Tiki is another great example of this. And so is Myrrh. Because Aether does barely anything for them. But guess what Blue Flame does? Get killed. I feel like that should have been just not able to be learned by armored units. Wow. Almost like that would have been a smart decision by IS. But as usual, it's IS. I feel like it probably was meant to be fucking exclusive to them, but someone in IS completely fucked it over and forgot to make it exclusive to him. Whatever. Anyway, let's talk about the unit itself now. This is the first time Attack Def Bond is released in the pool, finally, because Attack Def Bond is honestly the best Bond of the bunch. The sad part is it's on a unit that you're going to be killing for Blue Flame, because Blue Flame. Oh, also for non-armored units that can really use it, Steady / Warding Breath for example, is a great example. 45 extra damage with Wrath is insane. But the problem with most of those, the problem with most melee units when it comes on to Blue Flame is that they need to move out of having a unit next to them, unless you move a unit next to them before they attack, which means that you have to overextend your plays and it might fuck you over. That's a problem! And it makes ranged units the best user of Blue Flame, honestly. I will most likely be killing an Owain if I get a null, if I get like a second one. I'll probably be killing an Owain for my George, for example, just because of that. But yeah. With that said, okay, Attack Def Bond. First time it's in the pool. We had Summer Tiki, seasonal, and we had Fjorm, legendary, who had it. It's a fantastic skill, probably the best Bond in my opinion, but like I said, it was kind of very restricted. Sadly, it's on the worst person to actually put it on, because you have Wrath fodder, you have Blue Flame fodder, and then you have Attack Def Bond fodder. He's like the king of fodder, essentially, but oh well, not much you could do here. Spur Speed Def is... I think actually Oscar already had that, so who cares? So, Mistletoe. Mistletoe is a cooldown -1, and whenever he gets hit, regardless of battle phase, it's an extra charge. Which means if you proc Blue Flame, get hit, and then proc Blue Flame again, well, if you get hit, you get 2 more charge back, so you just can proc Blue Flame again. This is really good, it synergizes really well with his kit, especially with Wrath. They really, and I mean really, wanted him to be basically Ira, because that's exactly the playstyle you have with Ira, but with Ragnalastra. The difference is you're overly reliant on having a ally next to you, which completely fucks it up. And Ira is more consistent, and they both have basically the same stat line, except Owain has a res move, loses an attack point for an extra res point. That's it. That's the entire difference. Wow. Fucking wow. There's even less difference here than Legendary Mar versus Ira. So yeah, pretty good unit overall. I'm pretty sure most Owain fans are pretty happy right now. Still, Blue Flame is a bit unwieldy on him unless you get to the point of proccing it the first time, which is kind of a problem. He will be outperforming Ira whenever he gets hit. Like if you use him on enemy phase because of Attack Def Bond comboed into Blue Flame. But that's really it. If you're talking about literally any other situation, Ira will just be better. Well, speaking of, let's talk about comparison, eh? So, really, those are the only comparison that you can really make. And it's kind of fucked for Owain, really. So you have Owain that's pure damage, so a damage specialist, compared to Ira. Okay, so right here is already a problem. Ira is more consistent. You can easily get an extra, like, solid 16 to 20 damage. In my case, it's 20 because mine is +10. But yeah, the more you merge Ira, the bigger the difference between her and Owain becomes, because she gets more stats, and the more stats she has, the better Ragnalastra becomes. I mean, it's at a point where I could probably hit something like 22 damage for Ragnalastra without Wrath, of course, so... Owain at his best gets 25, which requires you overextending your plays, and Ira gets 22 without overextending her plays. Yeah! Like I said, Owain will be better in enemy phase, but when it comes down to player phase, Ira will just destroy his ass. As for Marth, Marth is a bit less obvious. Marth is a generalist, but he also has 2 more attack, and because of his weapon, 2 more speed. And yeah, it's true that Owain does get Slaying Edge effect, cooldown -1 I mean. But at the end of the day, it doesn't exactly help him all that much. And also, Marth, whenever he procs Fire Emblem, gets +8 in every stats, which is a huge problem, honestly. Even if you just, like, buff Owain by the same effect as Fire Emblem, he's still behind by 6 attack and 6 speed. Yeah, that's a bit of a problem. Also, when it comes down to spec damage, yes, it is true. Owain is very, very close to Marth. Marth gets only about 12 damage, and when he gets his special in, and then procs again, which is kind of inconsistent, but let's go for the sake of argument, that's roughly about 14 damage. Yikes. Even if you go with a bunch of merged, at most it's something like 15, which is still yikes. Still, when it comes down to overall damage, not merges, but buffs will make such a big difference anyway, that you have an extra 6 attack. So, even as a duelist, Marth can be a bit better, and also because of the fact, because of how his falchion works, he will just out-defense and out-res Owain. So, yeah, that does not mean Owain is straight up worse, but he's a bit more difficult to use than both of those, because both of those have a 2 cooldown special from the get-go, which opens a lot more ways, and since basically Owain has to waste a slot on cooldown -1 on his weapon, all he has is the fact that he can proc it again in the same fight, which is something Ira can already do, and better. Yikes. It is true though that since you're running Slaying Edge and Owain is running his pref, he has 1 more attack over her as a result. It doesn't do enough is the problem. So yeah, overall I'd say Owain is actually weaker than both Marth and Ira, but not by much. And also, like, let's be honest, at this point, if you really want to run Blue Flame, you can kind of just run Blue Flame on the other 2 as well, which means his individuality is fucked. Yes, his weapon helps him when it comes down to proccing it, but, you know, the problem is just he doesn't have any individuality. If Blue Flame was unique to him, he would actually have a lot more to... I would have a lot more to say here, but it's not, sadly. Now let's move on to Cliff. So, okay, first off there's an error here, and as they say, Fortress of Death Res is a tier 4 skill, which means this is a 300 SP skill. Second, this is our 3rd user of Chill Speed, so not much to say here as well. And Sagittae. Now, Sagittae is a really, really good weapon, and with the fact that he has only 44 attack, is really consistent. That means anything with 49 or more attack will basically just give him an extra 5 in every stats. Straight up. Another thing to mention about Sagittae is that it does not take into consideration any outside of combat buffs. So drive attack, not considered. Brazen attack, not considered. Brazen res, not, and brazen attack res, not considered. So what you can do is just say, fuck it, run double brazen, and then the second he hits basically desperation, you can just hit double desperation on top of Sagittae, which means you'll have an extra 12 def, 12 res, 19 attack, and 5 speed. Just pointing that out. Now, his weapon can become a bit unwieldy with merges. Do keep that in mind. If you plan on merging him, attack minus might be a good choice. If you do not plan on merging him, then no. If you do not plan on merging him, res minus is the best bane. Like I said, if you merge him though, attack minus might just be a bit better just because it's more consistent. As stupid as this is for me to say, attack minus is actually a good bane for him, essentially. He has a super bane in both speed, def, well, in both. In HP, speed, and def, which, yikes. Really means he only has really two really good banes to go for. Res minus and attack minus. Res minus just because it's a throwaway stat to some extent. Yeah, you lose 3 points, but whatever. Really, it's just whatever. Fortress Def Res synergizes pretty well with his weapon, but there is a huge problem with Fortress Def Res. And that's a problem I have in general with the skill, not just on Cliff. It's too limiting. There's so few characters that can actually use this skill properly. Because what happens is that, oh look, this is a slot for distant counter, close counter, okay. The unit doesn't have close counter or distant counter. You put this on them, they lose 2 attacks and gain 6 def, 6 res, right? But the problem is, say it's a range unit, they can't hit back against melee unit, so the 6 def, 6 res against melee unit becomes useless because they can't hit back to begin with. So why would you put your unit in the way of the enemy at that point? All it does is making you like, oh look, you can hit me for free. Essentially, even if you have an extra 6 def, 6 res, it's not useful in that regard. It doesn't help you. Same thing for melee unit using the skill. Range unit will be able to attack you and completely free, which means the extra 6 def and 6 res is completely wasted. And on top of that, you lose 2 attack. At that point, just run close defense or distant defense. It's the same thing. You will not be putting your range unit in front of a melee unit like, hit me! Unless they do 0, which, let's be honest, is not going to happen very often. So it's kind of a skill that's like, ooh, look, I'm very smart, but not really. There is a few good users of that skill, mainly dancers, which just wants to stay alive and support the units around them. As a matter of fact, if you're using a dancer and you're using them to help feed kills to your bonus unit, yeah, by all means, go ahead. It's just better that way. Because for example, I pulled 2 of them. One at 3%, could not have been a Loki or anything like that. Great. But I pulled 2 of them. I plan on killing one of them for my Olivia, because my Olivia as a result will hit 40 defense and 40 res. Her attack will go down a bit, which is a good thing, because that means I can bait unit without having any risk of me killing the enemy unit. It's the same purpose. Really, it is. So, yeah. But outside of that, not many units can really use it. It's just really on units like dancers that I can think of that it is really good on. Or just like overly support units, essentially, that don't care and just are going to body block the enemy, essentially. Otherwise, it's very much a waste of time, which is the problem. Anyway, let's move on to comparison. And really, there's not many characters to compare him to. There's only 2 non-suicidal blue mage in the block, and the other one being Odin. Now, I've seen people considering and pushing the idea of running Blade on Cliff, and that's not a bad idea if it wasn't for the fact that Odin exists. He's easy to build, easy to get good boons in, easy to just get basically everything you need on, and on top of that has a refine to buff his attack and speed by 6. Yes, Blade is not a bad idea on Cliff, but at the end of the day, Odin does it better. And on top of that, he can support your units, too. Because Speed Tactic is not very available, and Speed Wave are not consistent, unlike Odin. Attack Speed Link is now available as a B skill, but it requires killing a seasonal unit, which won't be there permanently, so... Yikes, not exactly a good idea, right? Same thinking, really. And yeah, so Odin is just better when it comes down to the Bloodblade roll on a bulky mage. Yeah, it is true that he does have 5 less speed and 8 less attack, but do keep in mind, speed plus on him, not difficult to get. Speed plus on Cliff, it's a 5-star exclusive. So, yikes. It becomes a massive yikes, let's be honest. So yeah, when it comes down to base tome and just base utility, yes, Cliff will be better as a tank than Odin ever could. And he also won't be relying on Fury because he has a good A slot when it comes down to bulk if you need it. It also synergizes really well with his tome, which means he can be a bit of a better tank as a result. 28-28 is what his base is because of his weapon, and then if you have Fortress Death Res, that's 34-34. If you add on top of that his tome, that's 39-39, very bulky. And on top of that, 42 speed, so you can prevent a lot of doubles, unless it's like Bolt Fighter or Quick Riposte. Which are, as usual, yikes, but you know. The main problem is his attack might be a bit low to score kills, so unless, well, if you do want 2 Bloodblades that are bulky enough to take a hit, this could be a choice. Otherwise, well, yeah. You'll want to probably be running double Brazens, because Brazens do not hurt his tome whatsoever. 19 extra attack just kind of, you know, pushes him at 63 attack, which does him a lot of good. And hitting Brazen range is not a problem for this guy at all. He still is going to hit 33 def and 33 res whenever his tome is active, which is really not difficult to activate. 49 attack is not hard at all. Just keep in mind though, if you have attack tactic on the team, keep him the fuck away from that skill. Honestly, if you run attack tactic, just switch to double drive attack if you plan on using Cliff on your team. Attack tactic is a problem and will shaft him a lot. Because an extra 6 attack with 44 base attack means anything with 54, well, 49 to 54 attack will all be able to just nullify his tome. Unlike if he didn't have it. And like I said, if you plan on merging him, attack minus is the best bane you can go for. Otherwise, you just have too much health. Not too much health, sorry, too much attack. Which is kind of ironic, because if you want to use Cliff next week, well, the arena buff is going to work against you. Let's just put it that way. Yikes. But yeah, I suppose that's all I have to say. Now let's move on to the GHB unit of Versa. So, as usual, I've done the interface myself. So if it looks a bit wonky, that's completely on me. So Aversa comes in as a red flyer, and honestly, when I saw her revealed, my first initial thoughts was a red Morgan F, which Morgan F is honestly the worst of the magic flyers by a large margin, because she's, well, there's her, and then there's also Bunny Camilla, but Bunny Camilla can use IoT Shield and completely wall characters such as legendary, what's her name? Legendary Lucina, completely fine, and also a lot of characters like Bravelyn. She just can hit. She has her own unique role, and then you have Morgan being like, "I'm a rest tank of the worst color possible," because blue is, well, the strongest side for mages are either green or blue. Red has like no one, and the few they have tends to be seasonal. I'm sorry, res tanks for blue are like absolute ass. The only good thing they have is ploys, and even then, it's debatable. So yeah, I was expecting her to be just a red res tank, and God knows we don't have enough of these. We have 4 free-to-play res tank for red alone. Like, motherfucker, 30 res is the lowest we had before Aversa when it came down to free-to-play red mages. Ugh. And I was pleasantly surprised with Aversa's stat line. She is actually a whole lot better than I ever expected. I expected her to have at maximum 32 speed, and look at what we have here, 34. This does help her a good-ass deal, and also her stat spread is not 18 defense, 28 res like a lot of fucking range units tend to have. She dropped a bit of resistance for other stats, which is definitely welcomed. She has a lot of HP. She is very similar to Summer Camilla stat-wise, actually. Summer Camilla is also like this a lot, except Death Reverse with res, which is admittedly a lot better, but still, it's very serviceable. She has a bit less speed, mind you, but it's a free-to-play unit, what do you expect? Aversa's Knight is a peculiar tome. It's basically attack, speed, death, res, panic, ploy all in one. But instead of being cardinal direction, it needs to be units that are adjacent to one another for the enemy team. Which, okay, that's a very strange condition. The main problem I have with this is the fact that it's reliant on HP, on a mage. Mage don't have a lot of HP because they don't have a lot of BST to play with. What? Seriously, this kind of effect is actually really neat. The only problem is, like I said, HP. You basically need your enemy to have 39 HP or less. Otherwise, it means fuck all. All of this text means nothing but res plus 3. That's a problem. That's a huge problem. But yeah, if I were IS, for whatever reason, I would have changed the requirement from HP to res, and I would have moved 3 HP into res. Yes, this makes her a bit more frail, but you have 30 res, had Fury on top of that, that's 33 res. You're at least semi-consistent with this effect, and the -3 attack speed def res means, well, you double more often, you take 3 less damage, so the less 3 HP doesn't even matter. The effect is more consistent, and it also kind of encourages the play of using tactics, which is nice. I definitely would have been preferring this to whatever the fuck this is. This is just way too inconsistent. But the silver lining to this is it's going to work pretty well, actually, for the time she's going to be an arena focus. Because while she's an arena focus, she gets an extra 10 HP, and then if you put Summoner Support on top of that, she'll have 57, which is consistent enough. It's not fantastic, but 54 HP is more than the average. So she's going to be working on a lot of units, especially Legendary Tiki, because Legendary Tiki has 45 health. And a lot of people tends to go HP minus on her, which you're going to be able to proc this effect on her completely all the time, completely safe. That said, outside of those arena season, it's a very lackluster effect. Like I said, if it was reliant on res instead of HP, this would be insane. Panic Ploy and the Universal Ploy would be insane, because what it would mean is like, ooh, anyone around Tiki? bam! -5 def, -5 res on all of them. And then on top of that, they lose 3 in all stats. So they lose like 3 attack, 3 speed, 8 def, 8 res. Because of with everyone. That would be so much better, but instead it's reliant on HP. But enough about this. Unrest Wave is coming back and it's available at 4-star. The only other unit that ever had it was Summer Takumi. As for HP Speed 2, the only other unit that has it is Saber. As per usual, GHB units are always bringing skills that we already had, so that's completely normal. Unrest Wave is, well, like I said, with most wave skill, they tend to be gimmicky because they only work all the time, and if you need the res on a certain turn, well, fucking tough luck if it's the wrong one. It is what it is. Still, with this stat line, she can definitely run a Blade Tome pretty well, actually. If you run something as simple as Fury with a Rather Blade, this is something like 49 attack with 37 speed, sorry. Then you had Own Flyers, 45 Flyers, and you're sitting at 79 attack with 43 speed. That's good enough, actually. And that's a good thing. It's kind of funny that every Mage Flyer for Red had a pref weapon. And none of them are very amazing outside of Tana's. But it is what it is. Let's move on to the comparison, which... Wow! What a surprise! The 3 red flyers! There's really not much you can do here. So, okay, she is much bulkier than Naui, and for the most part actually better offensively as well, unless you get a speed plus Naui. Yes, Naui can get IVs, and that can actually make her better than Aversa. However, unless you're lucky and get a good set of IVs, she's going to outdo Halloween Naui actually, which is surprising considering she's a free-to-play unit. As for Tana, well, there was no hope there to be had to begin with, so yeah, she is a bit bulkier, mind you. But outside of that bulk, no, she has nothing. She has the same attack and less speed straight up. And on top of that, Tana has a really good tome that is actually very cancerous to deal with. I actually had to deal with in Arena Assault last week. It was not fun. it was not fun. So yeah, Aversa is better than Naui, but worse than Tana, again, unless you have good IVs on Naui. Or very horrible IVs on Tana. That could also be a thing, because 33 because of speed minus means Aversa just has better stat line, and also easier merges up to +2. After +2, however, well, there's not much left. Though, being +2 means an extra point in attack and speed, as well as res and HP, so it is worth considering. 34 attack means you are tied with Naui, and you are tied with Naui as well if you get speed plus on Naui. Yeah, unless you get merges on Naui at that point, Naui is just flat out worse. Yeah, that is worth considering. But yeah, otherwise, I suppose that's that. All in all, this is a pretty solid banner, but oh my god, it leaves a poor taste in my mouth that Blue Flame is narratable. If it wasn't of this banner would be a whole lot better, like, on my conscience, but it is what it is. Oh, and for something I failed to mention, colorless dual infantry, that's a cancerous choice. Let's be real here. Dazzling and Wrathful Staff have always been a cancerous combo, and now you can use this on high tier arena, which is fucking awful because you usually have melee units to begin with, which means you have no way to counteract any kind of pain plus razzle dazzle very effectively unless you bait the unit into attacking it and then you kill it in one round. If you fail to kill it in one round, you're fucked. This sucks. This sucks. And also, if there's units behind the healer, well, this fucking sucks. Even worse, because even if you go and kill the unit, there's no way for you to get out safely. That's a problem. That's a huge problem. As for the best user of the dual infantry, that would be easily, I'd say, Azama. But more or less, actually. Azama will be able to charge up Bolt Fighter Aether on good old Brave Hector, so... Oh boy, get fucked, my boy. That's basically all I have to say on that one. And if he has Ignis, well, get out of here. A lot of units can just basically breeze through those units. Yes, they will take a bit of damage though, but yeah, it is what it is. The problem with healers though is that unless you have a unit with a repositional skill, using them is hardly safe, but for the AI, all it needs is just making you lose stats, or lose HP rather, so the other units can finish the job, and then you're fucked. Unlike the player who needs every unit to stay alive. But yeah, it's a very frustrating skill to see as a duel yet, and I find it really frustrating that it's only on OC characters. Seriously, why? Why did they do this is beyond me. But here we are. I suppose that's that though. I'll see you all in the comments or on Discord. Have a nice one.